I think I came up with a good title for this video.
Cool, what is it?
My smartphone don't jiggle jiggle, it folds.
Yes! Dude, I love it! Hey everybody, Harley and I had a chance to get our hands on the new Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4 and the Galaxy Z Flip 4. Over the last week, we got to test them out. We actually put our SIMs in them. And you know what? Let's just see if it was a fit for us.
That's right, we took the phones home and used them as our daily drivers and even showed them to our friends for some fun candid moments. All to answer one question. Is now the right time to switch to a foldable phone? Let's find out. Just to kind of clear things up, we've got two foldables here. You brought home the Z Fold 4.
I had the Fold.
And I had the Z Flip 4. And we're actually gonna start with you. So how was your experience using the Fold for a week?
Well, honestly, there were some ups and there were some downs. I thought I was gonna fall in love with the large form of the wide open tablet and, you know, maybe enjoy a bit more pocket space with it folded up into the slim. But here are 5 things that I loved and 6 things that honestly I could do without. For me, the Z Fold 4 handled my daily activities extremely well. And with 4,400 milliamp hours, it really does battle through my day really well. I had 35% left when I sat down on the couch to play a little Call of Duty on my Xbox at 9 p.m. So I was pretty surprised by that. Number 2 on my list was the front screen. I found it plenty big enough. I was extremely surprised when I put my S21 next to the Z Fold 4 to find that the real estate is nearly identical.
You can show it up to that camera. Bring it up there.
Okay, so if you look at those, they're nearly the same size.
Is the aspect ratio kind of the same for the front and the S20?
It's almost the same.
Or is this a little thinner?
It's a little bit thinner, yeah, because you're at 904 on this one and you're at 1080p on this one. So you lose a little bit, but it's not much actually. And most people, when you're on YouTube and you're watching videos on that screen, most people are running that ultra wide aspect now anyways. So, and even though my S21 technically has a better resolution, I didn't notice a huge difference. It honestly just felt like a much thicker version with nearly the same size display. And I actually ended up just using the front display most of the time, and I found that it was a great option.
And I'll get into this later, but unlike with the Flip, you at least get to start using your phone as soon as you pull it out of your pocket, because you have that front display.
Exactly. Yeah. It just felt like a slightly thicker version of the phone I already had with a little bit more battery life. And number 3, I found that this phone was absolutely great for Zoom meetings and multitasking when you don't really want to pull out the laptop. During our morning Zoom call to go over our editorial team's workload, we had some meeting minutes in Google Docs to go over, and I was able to, you know, bam, open up the email at the bottom. And then, oh, you know what? Now I can open up my doc over here on the right side. And I still had my Zoom call opened. I had all of my different functionality, and I was able to multitask like a beast.
You're able to run 4 apps at a time, aren't you?
You can run 3 separate windows, and then you can have a pop-up floating window as well. And for me, I found that most of the time when I was using the pop-up window, it was for when I was getting texts from people while I was trying to do other tasks.
Okay, yeah.
My favorite thing about this at number 4 is the camera quality. So the wide angle 50 megapixel camera is stunning. As you can see from you know, the images that I captured while I was out on a hike, when you go from the wide angle to the 3 times telephoto zoom, and then you've got also that ultra wide, there's plenty of pixels to pick up. Well, I did find that the telephoto was not great. Once you got into like the long distance digital zoom, actually it looked super soft. And
yeah, a lot of software compensation, trying to make the best of a bad image.
I don't feel like they were really optimizing their algorithms to deal with that properly.
Or like there's just not enough information they can use. Like there's one of the skyline where you zoomed in, what, 10 times? Yeah. And it just looked like a watercolor blob.
Oh yeah, I mean, I pushed it into 30 times full, and it looked like a Jackson Pollock or some kind of like, you know, artsy painting. It was just weird.
It's probably really great if you need to like spot a UFO.
Yeah.
But they're definitely not putting it on your Visco. Instagram or whatever.
But you know what, Harley? Overall, taking the Z Fold 4 on a walk through North Vancouver, I was not disappointed, and I felt myself never really missing my full camera.
And
I'm a guy that likes,
it's like your Nikon.
yeah,
right?
my big professional,
What?
juicy Nikon. This phone is absolutely great at capturing moments with friends, and you know, moments is what it's all about.
Right.
But at number 5, this one here is about me spending time by myself, hanging out, playing some games. This thing is absolutely so much fun to play games on. And if there's one thing that I use the Z Fold for the most, it had to be, you know, playing Call of Duty and playing Clash of Clans, which the display was vivid. There was tons of beautiful, brilliant colors, and it was a massive display opposed to my much smaller S21. So
yeah, and then coupled with the wireless controller, because you can't connect like an Xbox controller.
Oh yeah,
it must be a treat to use.
For playing Call of Duty, it was so much fun setting this thing up with the 12 gigs of RAM and the up to 120 hertz refresh rate that you have. For playing Call of Duty or any sort of mobile games, it's going to be more than enough. This thing is a beast. I keep saying that. This phone really is a beast. It's big. It makes it a beast.
Designed for power users.
Exactly, exactly. But some things that honestly I could do without were some camera settings that really weren't the greatest. And honestly, I found that the inside 4 megapixel selfie cam on the Z Fold 4 was horrible. Yeah. You really would not want to be using this for anything other than Zoom calls. One thing that I really liked was the fact that you could use the main camera to take selfies with friends.
Right.
But the process of getting to using your main cameras as your selfie camera was extremely clunky. Currently, you open up the camera in the fold mode and you click this small, hard to see, hard to find little button in the top left corner called Selfie. It's in tiny little letters, and for somebody that's, you know, already visually impaired, it was extremely difficult. Once you tap that though, then you can open up the phone and take really great high quality selfie photos.
The feature itself is good. Like, that's not the problem.
Just the implementation.
The implementation is just unpolished, and for a phone that costs $2,000, you'd expect software touches like that to be a little bit more polished. And in the future, they could just update the software specifically.
Exactly, and that's because it's a software issue. It's not really that big of an issue.
But it's just one of those examples of like, yeah, this is quite a new technology, and even the software might lag behind sometimes.
You know what, Harley?
What?
Getting away from software and going down to a problem that I actually had with the hardware. And number 2, there's honestly no good way to put the phone down. And I know I touched on this when I was talking about gaming, but you really can't win when you want to enjoy content in the full tablet mode. The phone is either in your hands or you have to find a stand that will deal with the size.
Right.
And if you want to enjoy it in the half folded mode, watching YouTube videos, you aren't really gaining any screen real estate at that point. And I ended up having to decide between, you know, am I gonna put the phone on its outer screen, face down on a table, or having it off balance? I ended up with scuffs and abrasions on the exterior Gorilla Glass, basically because I couldn't figure out how to put this thing down without doing that. You know, you put it down like this, you're dealing with, you know, scuffing up your screen. You put it like this, and you know what they say, this is Gorilla Glass Victus Plus.
Right.
And I still scuffed it. You know, I still managed to scuff this phone up after only a week.
Again, $2,000 investment, and for it to be scuffed up by just putting it down is disappointing.
It's extremely disappointing. Moving on to number 3. It's extremely heavy. I drive my car regularly, and many of you may be biking or commuting to work or wherever you head off to. And honestly, I couldn't find a way to fit the Z Fold 4 and its extremely heavy 263 gram weight into my Qi charger in my car. It was too thick to fit inside the charger properly, and it was so heavy that as soon as I hit a little bump, the phone came flying out of the charger.
Yeah, and most accessory manufacturers right now aren't designing for a phone as heavy as the Z Fold 4. Yeah. So I'm kind of not surprised that your phone mount for the car didn't really fare well with this phone.
But you know what? That actually leads me perfectly into my next point. It's a fumbler's worst nightmare.
Did you say you're a fumbler?
At number 5, I would say yes. I am absolutely a fumbler. I found myself accidentally pressing the lock button when I was trying to open it up and close it as many times as you need to do throughout a day. And while the fold is definitely satisfying, the feeling to open it, it just took a little bit too much for me to open, and I ended up kind of jumbling it around a little bit. Right. If I was building this phone again, I'd like gnarl the edges a little bit. Maybe
like a little grippy texture or something.
Maybe somebody like Jerry Rig Everything could like grab his. Maybe he could grab his and take a grinder to it and grind some gnarled edges into it.
Oh my gosh.
I'd buy that one.
It's a very unsettling feeling.
I would absolutely buy that phone at that point.
Or like, do they have like a border? Maybe there's a case for the
you know what?
With a grippy texture.
But at the end of the day, I was using it without a case because we didn't have a case available to use on it, and that was just how that went. Yeah. The last thing that I wasn't so thrilled about was the horrible Samsung keyboard implementation. On a good day, I prefer the Google Gboard, but on the Z Fold 4, I found the Samsung split screen keyboard completely unusable, and I just couldn't get used to it. Once I switched over to Gboard on the Fold, it was a much different experience. I loved it.
And we both had this conversation where we kind of complained about the Samsung keyboard, because yours, it's the split screen implementation.
Yep.
Mine is just the general implementation of the Samsung keyboard. Because the Z Flip 4 is a little skinnier, the Samsung keyboard is even worse, and I just found myself fumbling and missing letters or typing the wrong letters, so Gboard.
Yeah.
Gboard is where it's at.
See, and I actually got some really funny reactions from my hockey team. A lot of them are older guys and stuff that are, lawyers, doctors, teachers, that kind of thing. And all of them, I mean, you're passing this, you just watch the footage, because it's really funny. Watching guys sit here like this with a phone, and then they get it to about here. Every one of them got it to about here.
While it's rolling.
While it's rolling, and they're like, oh, I don't wanna, and they look painful, like they're like, oh, I'm gonna break it, I'm gonna break it. And all of them said, oh man, I'd love that. But their big question was, okay, I love it, but how much does it cost?
Yeah, $2,000 US, so even more expensive here in good old Canada.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, a little less than 2,000. I think it's what, 1,800 or something. We'll put the price on the screen.
Yeah, we'll put the price on the screen if you want to buy it.
Yeah. So Harley, we've talked about things I liked and the things I could do without on the Fold. What was your experience? You spent a week with the Flip.
Yeah, but before I kind of go into the things I liked and didn't like, kind of want to set up some expectations. Well, the Z Flip is known as the most popular foldable in the world right now.
That's crazy.
It outsells the Fold and every other folding phone out there.
It's not really crazy.
It's not crazy, but it makes sense. And it makes sense because not only is it kind of representative of a slab phone that just folds in half, but the price is probably the biggest one. This is a great gateway phone into the world of foldables. It's still pricey at $1,000, mind you, but it is a lot more accessible than, let's say, $2,000 for the Z Fold 4.
Exactly.
So when I got the unit, biggest question I had is, what features of the Flip, like the folding features of the Flip, would move me to choosing this over like a slab phone? Basically, can this convert me into loving a foldable? And I really gave it a shot, but I'm kind of leaning towards not really loving it as much as I thought. Like when I first got it, when we first opened the box, I was over the moon. I was like, whoa, it's a folding phone in my hands. But then after the 12th hour of using this, I started to realize the gimmick and the kind of the grandeur of, oh, you've got a folding phone started to fade away as I started really using it as a daily driver. Let me actually start with some of the good things, because there are advantages to this ability to have it in like a semi-folded shape. First off, this folding design is extremely handy when you're just, if you want to follow me, Mr. Cameraman, Austin Kwok, it's really handy when you want to just put the phone down and then consume content like this. So one morning I found myself at the kitchen and I just wanted to watch something, and rather than having to prop up my phone on, let's say, like a bottle or a cutting board, I was able to just like that and then watch my YouTube videos of choice. Or if I was on a video call, let's say Instagram or Google Meet, I could just pick up the call, like walk around my house, and then boom, do other things like cook, make dinner while calling. And I did find myself being able to answer calls and then, you know, reminiscing over being able to do that and going hello. And I did find myself holding it in the folded way.
Yeah.
But when I started doing normal phone stuff, or just using it like a normal phone, then that's when I started to realize that the folding mechanism actually started to become more of a roadblock rather than an advantage. So one example, let's say I was in transit, I wanted to check, I feel the buzz in my pocket for a notification.
For sure.
If I wanted to interact, sure, you've got the 1.6-inch display here, the front screen, but you can only do so much interaction here. So if I wanted to, I'll see the notification. If I want to interact, then I have to do that extra step of unfolding it, unlocking the device, and then going. Versus,
so it almost just turns it into a beeper at that
yes,
point.
It's
for
a
any of
beeper.
those people that are old enough to remember what beepers were.
We'll put a picture up just for reference there.
So it turns you into a beeper guy, really.
Yeah, and then yeah, you gotta open up the phone and then to interact with it. Whereas with a traditional phone, like a slab phone, if I get a notification, I just take out the phone, tap the screen. Yeah, it's right there. Like here, I got a Google Pixel 6 in my pocket. Take the phone out, tap the screen, you get the notification, and then you just start interacting. So for me, that's when I started to realize, this is just an extra step. Also, credit where credit's due. The Hinge design is nice, it feels great, but it does take some effort to flip it. And even if unless I really push it all the way, it does become a little bit cumbersome if your hands are full and you just need to use the device. It's so little things like that.
Yep.
And then unfolded, you've got a 6.7-inch display. It's really nice, good colors. I found that watching video on it was really good, but the crease started to get on my nerves. Now, sure, while I'm scrolling through text, it's not a problem, but if I'm watching a video in landscape and there are leading lines that cut across horizontally, then you start to see a little bit of distortion, and then it does become distracting.
You know what? That's actually something that I noticed about the Fold as well.
Yeah.
Is that the crease is noticeable. I'd say it's less noticeable than it was on the Fold.
Yeah, no, like these are the best implementations of the folding screen thus far. Like,
oh yeah,
it's taken 4 iterations to get here, but it's still there. The fact is, it's still there.
It's more noticeable, I found, if you're outside.
Yes,
than
the
it is
reflection
inside.
of the sun going on the screen, and give credit where credit's due. These screens get plenty bright. So at least you're able to see your content, but that also means you see the crease.
You see the crease.
Yeah.
You do see the crease.
Kind of jumping back into something I did love the camera, the back cameras on this. So unlike the Z Fold 4, the Z Flip 4 actually uses a 12 megapixel sensor for both the wide and ultra wide cameras. And while sure you're sacrificing a little bit of resolution and detail, it does result in better low light performance, as you can see in the photos that I've edited in here. I will say though that the selfie camera, specs I'll also put up on the screen, is atrocious in low light, really bad color reproduction. So you can use the back camera as a selfie camera and then use the front screen to preview that. Although similar to the Z Fold 4, the implementation is a bit weird, or just not well thought out, because so if you want to use the Z Flip 4's back camera for selfies, you have to double tap the power button and then the front display will preview your image. You can swipe up to change the cameras, double tap to do a full view. And that's great, because then you're taking advantage of a much better or higher quality camera system. However, if you remap the double tap to perform a different function, you lose that function. So for me, I personally like to set that double tap to the wallet app.
Yep.
And when I did that, I lost that ability because for some reason in the Samsung camera app, there is no button to automatically switch selfie modes to the back camera. And your instinct might be, oh, what if I just close it while the app is running? No, it turns the phone off. So it's a little weird that Samsung doesn't have at least you have a button in your system.
There is, but yeah, at the same time, I mean, if I'm in the camera app here and I'm like, well, I don't like using the 4 megapixel and I want to use even the 10 megapixel selfie cam that's on the screen here, it still locks my phone again. Yeah. So then I'm back to square one, and then I have to go back into the app. And again, it gets into that process of it being cumbersome, right?
Right. I actually showed my friends, I took some videos of my friends trying out the phone, and they were all like, oh, every single person started out with, oh, that's so cool. Like, and they're passing it around to each other, they're flipping it, they're folding it and everything. But then by the end of the conversation, they go, yeah, but I don't think I'd spend $1,000 on this, or I don't like that. Everyone hated the crease.
Oh yeah.
No one liked the crease.
Really?
So people, it starts off as this, wow, this looks so cool, it's the future. but they personally wouldn't get it. By the end of it, this is kind of where I concluded my thoughts on the Z Flip 4, which is, I don't see the advantage of having a folding screen on this form factor specifically, because it ended up adding or reducing my quality of life / adding more obstacles to use the phone, versus with the Z Fold 4, your benefit is that you get a bigger screen. For this one, it's just, the folding mechanism it's an extra step.
So I'm gonna stop you right there though, Harley, because honestly, I think that maybe we each would have liked each other's devices a little bit more.
Maybe.
Because for me, that actually sounds great. Like, I've been trying to limit my use of Facebook and social media and my phone in general. I've been trying to sort of limit that. And if I have like a little bit of a barrier to using it, I might put it down a bit more. I might spend more time doing other things, being outside, having fun with people and things like that. So that actually sounds great to me. I like the idea that, you know, it's a phone that more acts like a traditional phone where you have to purposefully use it.
So I guess a good way to kind of wrap this up is the Z Fold 4. Would you switch to it right now? Fully, like,
you know what?
Are you gonna abandon your S21 for the Z Fold 4?
I could ask you the same question, and part of me wants to plead the fifth here, but I'm gonna say I'm not ready. I think there are people who are brave and exciting and are ready for this device right now, but unfortunately for me, I'm not one of those people. I'm more apt to probably switch to this, which is probably why the Flip is the most popular folding device at this point, and it's the most sales that Samsung has had on a folding device to this point. But for now, Harley, I'm gonna stick with my S21. It hasn't done me wrong for a year and a half, and with the number of years that I have of updates ahead for this thing, I don't see a reason to switch unless the S23 or the Pixel 7
blows your
my socks off.
Yeah.
So for you, you spent a week with the Flip. What are your thoughts? Are you ready to switch?
Before all the foldable people come at me at the comments, I need to just say this. As a phone, this is a good product. This is a good phone. It does what it sets out to do. But for me, I don't see myself switching to this just because my experience on a traditional slab phone is already great. And unfortunately, this didn't really add to that experience of me using a smartphone. So personally, not for me right now, but this is it's definitely been a cool experience seeing where all the technology is headed. So I'm excited to see what they do with, let's say, like the Z Flip 5 or 6 or whatever.
That's awesome. Well, guys, let us know what you thought of the notes that we made on these devices. What do you think about the Fold and the Flip? Is it something that you're willing to switch to? Have you already switched? Let us know what your experiences have been. Do you agree with anything we said? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments down below.
Also, if you want to read our full reviews on both these phones or any other products mentioned in this video, be sure to read our full reviews on AndroidAuthority.com.
And with that being said, guys, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Harley.
Take care of yourself, be kind, and we'll see you on the next one.